To help us discuss and explain some of those differences we're currently experiencing here in modern day 2025 America is our next guest. He's Lee Schalk, Senior Vice President for Policy at the American Legislative Exchange Council. You can find him online at ALEC.org. Lee, good afternoon. Welcome back to News Talk STL here in good old St. Louis, Missouri.
Good afternoon, Tim. It's great to be with you again.
Hey, Lee, before we get into all the issues of the day, you're a younger fella than me, I'm asking all my guests who I have not spoken to since the horrible events of last week, if they had anything they'd like to say about the life and times and the positions of Charlie Kirk. I know he's somebody that you're very well aware of, and I was just wondering if you'd like to share any of your memories of him or any experiences you had relating to Charlie or Turning Point USA.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Tim. And it's been such a sad couple of days here, and I just watched the news as you were updating there a few minutes ago about the charges. But, for me personally and for my organization, ALEC, we think the world of Charlie, and we always admired how he was just a champion for free speech, freedom of expression. Going into the lion's den the way he did, he was willing to engage anyone and just always standing up for truth, standing up for freedom. All the values that we hold dear. And it's just been amazing to watch the outpouring of support on the right and to see how many millions of people he impacted. I'm encouraged by the fact that I think this is going to change a generation of young people to really carry that torch forward for Charlie and for Turning Point.
Mm-hmm. And Lee, just so folks know, ALEC's been around for well over 50 years now, and ALEC has been the target of a lot of anger from the far left over the last many decades. Lee, it's kind of scary, isn't it, that because folks like you and me and the organization of ALEC as a whole believe in concepts like limited government, free markets, and federalism, that would drive people to, not debate us as they should, but to resort to violence or violent acts. We're not supposed to do that in this country, right, Lee?
No, and you're right. ALEC, over the years, we've been around since 1973. We've been subject to a lot of vitriol and hate from the left, and sadly, this is nothing new. But you're exactly right, Tim. These are the values, these are the principles that make our country great, and we've got to continue to be bold with these ideas because we are on the right side when it comes to all of these free market ideas, these conservative principles, these founding principles. That's what makes our country great.
Thanks for those words. Wise words indeed. Lee, the one big beautiful bill, I have learned over the last few weeks that there is a lot in the one big beautiful bill that the states can positively implement to take matters back into their own hands, like you and I and others at ALEC have been preaching for decades. You all at ALEC are, I'm sure, still sorting through this and how it's applicable to the states, but there's some real opportunities here for us that the Trump administration has provided to our 50 laboratories of democracy, isn't there?
Absolutely, Tim. I think there are some things that people are still learning about. They may not have caught on right away. We had a really good conversation recently with Erica Donalds from the America First Policy Institute, and he was talking about some of the school choice provisions in the bill and the opportunity for funding across the states just to help parents choose the best options for their kids. So I think there's some great provisions in the OBBB as it relates to education. I think there are going to be opportunities for states to conform to some of the federal, state and local tax changes. And so, like I said at the time when this was going through, and there was such an incredible amplification from state leaders. We saw at ALEC over 600 legislators signed on to a letter to support the One Big Beautiful Bill. But I think this is going to pour rocket fuel on the economy. We're going to keep those 2017 Trump tax cuts in place. I think the reforms to Medicaid are also a really good starting point to save us money and hopefully make Americans healthier in the long term.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I know your colleague, Brooklyn Roberts, who runs the helps run the Health and Human Services Task Force at ALEC, is very excited about those provisions because those are some of the largest drivers of state budgets, and in many states who have suffered through the Obama Medicaid expansion, it's really been they've been looking for relief, and hopefully this bill will provide them some relief and flexibility to that point. And Lee, you hit on something important there. The Trump administration wants to be a partner with the states, right? I know you've got a front row seat to this, and I was part of the Missouri delegation that visited the White House. Lee, the White House is doing everything it can to bring state leaders and policymakers from all 50 states to the White House to explain to them how they want to be a partner and basically energize the states and empower them to come up with solutions, because they know that the solutions are generally not found in Washington, D.C., right?
Yeah, and this is something we're not used to seeing here in our nation's capital, here in the swamp. We're not used to having the president bring in state legislators, bring in leaders week after week and say, we want to work with you. We want to hear with you. We want to help make your state more competitive, make your state more successful. And so this level of coordination, Tim, I think we are seeing federalism at play in a way that is unprecedented and in a way that our founders intended, because we always talk about how it was the states that created the federal government, not the other way around. And so to see that play out in real time through President Trump and his administration, the way they're not only bringing state leaders to D.C., but he's sending his cabinet members into state capitals to team up with governors and state lawmakers. It is really something special to watch.
It is notable cooperation indeed. Folks, we're speaking with Lee Schalk. He's the Senior Vice President for Policy at the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC, ALEC, ALEC.org. On the internet. Lee, ALEC has lots of opportunities for lawmakers and stakeholders and public policymakers all over the country, and one of those are the two big meetings that occur every year. The big annual meeting, usually held in the summertime, was in Indianapolis this year, and out of that meeting, Lee, I know a lot of new proposals from state legislators all across the country emerged, ALEC model policies that are now available for anybody to pick up and amend, revise, and then try to implement in their own states. Lee, what were some of the top lines that came out of the recently concluded annual meeting?
Yeah, I'll tell you, Tim, one of my favorites was we have one on commemorating the 250th anniversary of America. And so this is a model that legislators can introduce as a resolution to really celebrate the history of our country. And there's a really important civics education component to this because, as we were talking about it a minute ago, we've got to make sure the next generation is equipped with the history of our country and how great we are. The other thing I'll add, getting into some of the real nitty-gritty of the policy, we had a renewed focus this meeting on election issues. And we had a really nice slate of new model policies. A couple I'll just rattle off. One on adding the citizenship question to the U.S. Census. That is a resolution legislators can pass and send to Congress. We know that is critically important. You've heard President Trump calling for that in recent days and weeks. Another one would be our Valid Voter Identification Act. We've talked a lot in recent months at ALEC about ensuring that only citizens can vote and ensuring that those citizens have proper forms of ID to help keep our elections secure and safe. And so I would say, Tim, those are some of the top lines, some of my favorites coming out of our annual meeting. But we'll be back in December. We'll have some additional model policy ideas that will get voted through in December. So I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Lee, I try to keep up on this because it's ever changing, but my understanding is now I think ALEC now has 11 task forces, kind of the backbone of the ALEC model. And Lee, I'd love for you to comment on two of the newest that are definitely dealing with, the one deals with some of the most hot button issues in our country right now, basically election integrity in our electoral system. And the second, showing that ALEC, although a nonpartisan organization, definitely pays homage to our foundational principles and those who have secured those over the last 250 years or so, the Veterans and Military's Affairs Task Force. So, Lee, talk about those two newest task forces and what the mission statement of them is: the Process and Procedures Task Force and the Veterans and Military's Affairs one.
Yeah, you nailed it, Tim. And first up, the first new one that we had this year was Process and Procedures. that is the task force responsible for some of those election-related policies that I just mentioned. And if you look at our mission statement for that task force, ultimately it comes down to, we believe the rules by which government operates are the foundation to our republic. And so in order to ensure that we've got a free citizenry, that's why our forefathers recognized the wisdom of having clear instructions for running the government. And so from there, to safeguard liberty, we've got to make sure those rules of engagement between government and the people are crystal clear. And so that carries on to a lot of those really strong election policies and protecting these institutions that really allow our country to operate and thrive. The second task force, as you mentioned, Tim, established earlier this year, is on veterans and military affairs. And so we are, with this task force at ALEC, just committed to ensuring that our service members, our veterans, are recognized as assets to their communities and have the tools they need to thrive. So whether that means removing barriers to employment or streamlining their reintegration, encouraging entrepreneurship, improving the state veteran services, that is our focus with the Veterans and Military Affairs Task Force. And we're really excited, especially with the leadership of Speaker Pro Tem John Wills from Iowa, a veteran himself, and so many veterans at ALEC who are also serving as state legislators. It's going to be really exciting to watch what they come up with.
Yeah, such great stuff. ALEC has something for everyone. Like I said, 11 task forces, and that just is that's the foundation, and there's so much other that goes with ALEC. Everything's available online, by the way, folks, alec.org. You can look about what ALEC is all about. You can check out the upcoming meetings, publications. ALEC welcomes anyone as a member. You do not have to be a legislator. You can be just a stakeholder, a public policy person, and you can join ALEC as well. Make sure your legislators are part of ALEC. Lee, before we let you go, ALEC has a lot of great publications as well, and I believe a brand new one just came out regarding labor policy called States That Work. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's right. States That Work. That's our labor policy roadmap across America. And Tim, I've got to tell you, Missouri's got a little bit of room for improvement.
Yeah, I know we do.
Look, y'all are ranked 23rd in the report. And so you can take a look and see which policies you've still got left to do. I think at the end of the day, what we want to convey through this report is that state policies matter as it relates to workers and the workforce and worker freedom. And, businesses are taking a close look at a lot of these laws, whether it is right to work. That is probably the pillar of this report. But there's also things like occupational licensing, making sure that workers are able to get to work quickly as they move across state lines. But it's a great resource, Tim. I'd encourage your listeners to check it out at alec.org. It's called States That Work, and you might find some ideas that you can share with your legislators there in Jeff City. Fantastic
publication from a fantastic organization I've been very proud to be a member of and to work alongside with in our state capital. My goodness, Jonathan Williams and I go back almost 20 years now, and we were young guns once, Lee, just like you. Lee Schalk, Senior Vice President for Policy over at ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, alec.org. Lee, thanks for everything. Thanks for sharing your thoughts about Charlie Kirk and also for diving deep into these important public policy positions. Look forward to seeing you soon, my friend, and take care of yourself up there deep in the swamp.
Thank you, Tim. Take care.